Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar News, where we bring you the most accurate and timely updates on global financial trends, with a sharp focus on Iraq's evolving monetary landscape. As of the current date in the USA, we are witnessing what could become one of the most pivotal financial transitions of our time. Iraq is standing at the edge of a remarkable shift, one that may soon redefine its economic identity on the global stage. If you've been following currency developments, particularly around the Iraqi dinar, now is the moment to lean in. Major statements from leading international bodies, most notably the United Nations, are signaling a historic transformation that's developing much faster than anyone anticipated. At the center of this momentum is the Iraqi dinar, expected to lead the pack in what analysts are calling a domino effect across several regional currencies, including the Vietnamese dong. This isn't just an isolated event or rumor mill noise, it's a globally significant signal. The United Nations has delivered a bold statement that's turned heads from Washington to London to Dubai. Iraq is being positioned to become a dominant force in the global banking sector. That's not an exaggeration or hopeful projection. It's a designation that comes with serious implications. What's even more startling is that the UN made this announcement before Iraq's own central bank issued any official updates. This isn't a whisper in the dark. This is a carefully orchestrated cue to the world's financial elite. Such a declaration doesn't come lightly. When a body as influential as the United Nations speaks in such definitive terms, it acts as a litmus test for what's coming next. And unlike Iraq's past narrative filled with conflict and crisis, the current trajectory centers on potential and reinvention. Iraq is no longer being discussed merely in the context of oil exports or reconstruction. Instead, it is being reshaped in the minds of investors as a possible hub of financial influence. Not long ago, such a claim would have been dismissed as far-fetched. But global sentiment is shifting, and it's doing so rapidly. From once being viewed as a war-torn economy shackled by sanctions and corruption, Iraq is now being examined as a serious contender in modern finance. Fueling this realignment is a distinct geopolitical component. The reappearance of former President Trump on the global stage has reignited discussions about economic revitalization in regions long overlooked by traditional Western finance. Known for his transactional style and aggressive push toward economic sovereignty, his approach to Middle Eastern diplomacy always included economic incentives. During his term, rebuilding Iraq wasn't just diplomatic rhetoric. It became a real consideration in high-level financial strategy meetings. That mindset is seemingly continuing under his renewed spotlight, influencing how global power brokers view opportunities in the region. It's unlikely that this timing is accidental. The United Nations doesn't step forward with such confidence unless there is real traction happening behind the scenes. The language they used was assertive, not speculative. And that speaks volumes. Even skeptics of the UN's bureaucracy recognize the financial implications such a message sends. Global financial players, banks, hedge funds, development organizations treat this kind of endorsement as actionable intelligence. This is not a game of political optics. It's a signal flare for capital movement. Labeling Iraq as a rising banking power is more than a compliment. It's a green light for high-level investment. It invites international lenders to explore Iraqi markets with renewed interest and gives development agencies like the IMF and World Bank the cover they need to offer better loan terms, grants, and infrastructure partnerships. For private investors, this dramatically changes the risk equation. Iraq, long considered too volatile to invest in, is being reintroduced as a place where long-term capital can yield real results. This isn't just about high finance. The potential impact on everyday Iraqi citizens could be transformational. Think about young professionals in Baghdad, engineers in Erbil, or farmers in Najaf. Many of them have operated in survival mode for decades. With a modern financial system in place, they could finally access home loans, business credit, and digital banking solutions that are taken for granted in other parts of the world. This is how real middle classes are built, through infrastructure that allows families to dream beyond just making it to the next month. It's worth noting that this isn't Iraq's first brush with promise. Time and again, the country has reached the edge of transformation only to be dragged back by internal unrest or external interference. That history of false starts explains why many remain cautious. But what makes this different is the assertiveness of the message being broadcast. The UN isn't couching its language. There's no maybe or we'll see. They are declaring Iraq ready for the next level. That kind of clarity doesn't surface without substantial internal groundwork being laid. If Iraq plays its cards right during this window of opportunity, the payoff could be enormous. This is about more than GDP growth. It's about shifting the world's perception. Imagine Iraq no longer defined by war footage or oil prices, but by its fintech startups, its robust capital markets, and its role in shaping the future of Middle Eastern finance. Of course, this path isn't guaranteed. With new attention comes the threat of exploitation, speculation, and outside manipulation. Iraq's challenge will be finding a balance between attracting foreign interest and maintaining domestic control over its economic destiny. The concept of Iraq becoming a financial exporter of ideas, services, and technology is no longer laughable. If managed well, Iraq could build its own ecosystem of fintech innovation, possibly even exporting digital banking platforms and regulatory consulting services to neighboring countries. Already, quiet discussions are underway among international corporations exploring ways to establish a presence in Iraqi markets. From potential listings of Iraqi startups on foreign stock exchanges to global banks opening branches in Baghdad, this kind of integration was previously out of reach. Now it's being modeled as a legitimate outcome. Investors around the world are not ignoring this shift. They don't need everything to be perfect. They just need to see the right signals. And that's exactly what the UN's bold move has provided. Suddenly, Iraq is no longer seen as a risk to avoid, but a frontier worth exploring. With that comes potential partnerships, the entrance of sovereign wealth funds, and a wave of financial modernization. For global financial circles, Iraq's sudden repositioning represents a broader recognition of regions that were once dismissed as too unstable to invest in. With abundant natural resources, a predominantly young population, and its location at the crossroads of key trading corridors, Iraq offers undeniable potential. But until now, it lacked the structural and international support to fully realize that potential. What we're witnessing is a possible end to that drought. With synchronized alignment from powerful institutions and diplomatic forces, Iraq may finally gain the international credibility it has long been denied. Of course, the hurdles haven't vanished. Deep-rooted corruption, fragile political alliances, and decades-old regulations continue to obstruct progress. But even those obstacles are being reevaluated in the current context. A new class of reformers is emerging within Iraq. Technocrats and visionaries willing to challenge the status quo in pursuit of national renewal. The presence of sustained international interest gives them the leverage to push for changes that were once politically impossible. In this environment, reform becomes more than a domestic goal. It becomes a global expectation. And here, the presence of former President Trump remains a wild card, with the potential to tip the scales even further. His administration was always aggressive about facilitating large-scale economic projects, especially in regions undergoing major transitions. While his return to international relevance has drawn a wide range of reactions, what's certain is that his name still commands attention in financial and political spheres alike. Some insiders believe that he or his close associates have already been involved in quiet diplomacy, laying the groundwork for future energy deals, infrastructure projects, and possibly financial collaborations involving Iraq. Trump's worldview often centered around national economic strength, bilateral trade leverage, and strategic alliances rooted in wealth creation, rather than ideological alignment. That philosophy could align well with Iraq's current trajectory. It's not out of the question that high-level discussions are already taking place between U.S. financial institutions, Gulf nations, and emerging Iraqi authorities, with Trump's sphere acting as a conduit. If true, this would mean a whole new layer of momentum behind Iraq's financial awakening, one that merges policy influence with economic ambition. Meanwhile, the global revaluation conversation continues to pick up speed. As analysts monitor the Iraqi dinar, many are asking whether we're witnessing the early stages of a broader currency recalibration. For years, currencies like the dinar and the Vietnamese dong have been considered undervalued, trading far below their perceived purchasing power. Now, with new geopolitical alignments and capital flows reshaping the economic landscape, the stage may finally be set for these currencies to find more realistic footing in global exchange markets. This isn't wishful thinking, it's driven by metrics. Iraq's growing reserves, rising oil output, and improving fiscal discipline have all contributed to renewed confidence. Quiet purchases of dinar by institutional investors have already begun, and multiple trading desks are now adding Iraq to their watch lists. That's not speculation, it's strategy. These players don't wait for news stories. They act based on patterns, institutional chatter, and long-term signals. Like the UN announcement, should the dinar experience a controlled and credible revaluation, the effects could extend far beyond Iraq's borders. It would signal to other developing economies that strategic reform, when paired with institutional backing, can lead to significant financial rewards. This may inspire similar initiatives in neighboring nations, creating a ripple effect of economic revitalization throughout the region. The financial world thrives on precedent, and Iraq could soon provide one. Still, it's essential to temper excitement with realism. Currency revaluations, especially in historically volatile environments, carry enormous risk. One wrong policy decision or external shock could derail years of progress. But at this point, the pieces on the board suggest momentum is on Iraq's side. The world isn't expecting perfection. What it wants is progress, transparency, and a sense of stability. And based on what we're seeing, from UN endorsement to increased investor interest, Iraq is finally beginning to deliver on all three fronts. What happens next will depend heavily on how Iraq manages this critical moment. Structural reforms must be paired with communication strategies that restore trust among the population and international investors. Regulatory systems need to be modernized, and local banks must be empowered to work alongside global partners. Above all, Iraq must maintain control over its own economic story, even as it opens its doors to global capital. There is a chance here to craft a new narrative, one that doesn't erase Iraq's past but instead redefines it. A story where resilience gives way to innovation, where war stories make room for financial headlines, and where the next generation of Iraqis are equipped not just to survive, but to lead. In this vision, the dinar becomes more than a currency. It becomes a symbol of transformation, dignity, and potential. For international observers, this means we're entering a new phase of global finance. The typical assumptions about risk, value, and opportunity are being rewritten. What was once off limits is now on the radar, and for those closely following the movement of the dinar and similar currencies, the opportunity isn't just theoretical, it's materializing. At Iraqi Dinar News, we'll continue tracking this development with precision and integrity. Whether you're an investor considering your next move, an Iraqi citizen hoping for stability, or a global citizen curious about the next frontier in economic growth, this is the time to pay close attention. The landscape is changing fast, and early insight could make all the difference. So what should viewers take away from all of this? First, recognize that Iraq is no longer trapped in the old narrative. Second, understand that the signals being sent by global powers, especially from institutions like the United Nations, are not made lightly. They are part of a coordinated shift. And finally, know that this is just the beginning. A new chapter is being written, and you're watching it unfold in real time. Thank you for staying with us on this crucial update. Subscribe to Iraqi Dinar News and turn on notifications to remain informed as new developments arise. Share this video with others who care about the future of Iraq and emerging global markets. And remember, in the world of finance, timing isn't just everything. It's the difference between being prepared or being left behind. Let's move forward together with cautious optimism and informed perspective. Until next time, stay tuned and stay sharp.